Welcome back. In today's video, we are going to do something somehow different. So in the previous video, we worked on, we fetched the data, and then we also went ahead and worked on some pages, like the detailed page. So we worked on the detailed page. We also worked on the cut page. So at least there are two pages we worked on in the previous video. Now, in today's video, we have one challenge we have to work on, and this challenge one, we need to be able to edit some of these products. As you can see here, some of the products are empty. When you just like do this, it is empty, or you want to edit or you want to delete. Now the problem we have is that when you go, for instance, to the products or you go to the categories, we haven't actually gotten the table to put here, to be able to list all the categories, and then we are able to delete, edit, and do all those kind of actions onto our data. Okay, if you check in our APIs, we really have a lot of data for these things like categories and all sorts of things. We have a lot of things. Now, I remember the first time we worked on the dashboard, there is a time we worked actually on the table. Now that table had issues, and one of the things that if you check on the tables, there is a lot of work that needs to be done on those tables. Okay, there's a lot of work that needs to be done on those tables. Now there is one component in Shad UI. If you go to Shad, okay, under components, there is this data table component. I think this is one of the best components they have. I think the best data table component on the internet right now. It is really having all the things that we need. Okay, I remember I've seen it many times and I wanted to implement it. The problem it has is that it is somehow really tricky and complicated to implement, but it has everything we need. If you just look at, for instance, if you search the emails, so the search is done. Okay, you can hide the columns that you don't want to see. So even if you show all the columns and you come here and you want to hide the status, it goes and remain with the few you want. Okay, then you have more actions, like for instance, you can come here and you have these actions. You can copy, you can view payment details. So they have all these baked into this table. And one more thing they have, they also have this the previous next, the pagination is also done. Okay, so this is the component really we need into our code. Okay, if we get this component, we'll be able to put it in the place, we'll be able to put in the place where we have this like the categories and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so I decided to say that I'm just going to try my level best. I've not used it. Okay, I've not used this component before, because all the time I look at it like it is somehow sort of like complex. But today I said actually we can really build it if we take our time and we move slowly. We can just like move a step by step, and we try to make this one actually work. Okay, so as a programmer, is just not to be comfortable with your fears, you have to face them. And that's why, like in the upcoming course, we are going to record that course. We are going to first do basics of, we are going to start with TypeScript. So in the reasons, I've had a lot of comments. Most of my those guys who like my videos, the one thing they have always asked for is TypeScript. So in the upcoming course, actually I'm just recording it, I'm just going to use TypeScript. We are going to start with the basics, and I'm not like a guru in TypeScript, but we're going to be moving, all of us actually trying to use TypeScript and make sure that it is type safe in all ways. Okay, So in the upcoming course, you're going to use TypeScript, and even in the upcoming videos, I think I will also make one video here on YouTube trying to actually do TypeScript, and then afterwards we will shift all our videos and the next future videos into TypeScript. So this starts with actually just like facing like this simple component. We have to try to see how we can actually put this component into our code. So the only thing that we can just be able to do it is actually reading the documentation just step by step. So just navigate, go to Shad UI and just scroll down until you reach on this data table component. I think they have two most important components if you just think about it. If I look at the first component, they have this navigation menu. They actually they have this mega menu is one thing. They have this date picker, and then they have data table. You can just try those three components, are really amazing. Okay, I've already used the mega menu. Okay, now I just want to try to see if we can use actually the data table component. So they say here data table, and they say powerful table and data grid built using tiny stack table. So they just use tiny stack. You know, they build all these components from other libraries like Radix and tiny stack table. Now, even if you go tiny stack table, it is also really somehow actually complicated. Now, just going to try actually step by step the way they do here. So you can see introduction here. They say every data order the grid have created unique, blah blah. Now just going to go here. You say it doesn't make sense to combine all these variations into a single component. If we do that, we lose the flexibility in the headless UI providers. So instead, data table component I thought it would be more helpful to provide guide on how to build one. And this is the only one which has actually the docs. It has a very big documentation if you're just going to implement the table component. So here they say we start with the basic table component and then build a complex data table from scratch. I think that is the concept we should just adopt. We start with the basic table and then we build up to the complex one. So you say tip, if you find yourself using the same table in multiple places in your app, you can always extract it into a reusable component. And that is one thing that we are going to do at the end of the day. Want to able to implement the table, for instance, we just put it as you saw, we need it on the categories, not only on the categories, we need it on products, and everywhere we need that component. And that's what exactly he's saying here. He's saying if you find yourself using the table in multiple places in your app, you have to extract it into a reusable component. And at the end of the day, we'll have to make a reusable component for our table, and then we use it. Okay, so this is the guide that we are going to implement how to use tiny stack table and the table component to build your own custom table covering the following topics. You see there are so many topics here, and you can see even at the end of the day they have usable components. So the first thing I'm just going to do is add the table component to your project using this command here. Okay, so I'm just going to come here, just simply copy for the npm, and just let's go to the command line and then try to install actually table. So I'm just going to go and just pull this up, and then I'm just going to come here. I'm just going to try to actually just paste that command. We just copy it on the clipboard. Okay, so that is the command, just like that. Okay, so when it is starting to install, let's just go back and see what next. So the first thing we have is you have to add the table component to your project by just installing it using Shad. So the second thing is actually adding the tiny stack React table. And by the way, this table we are going to still be using it, and when you're using it using TypeScript, I think we'll be just using exactly the way it is. But right now we are using JS or JavaScript, so we're just going to be extracting off the TypeScript parts, and we'll see if it is actually possible to implement it. So the second thing is actually to add the tiny stack React table dependency after this has actually installed. Now my machine also has a tendency of being slow, and by just going to the internet is connected, so I just wait for a second and see how it goes. So after that, after adding this stack React table, then now we start with the prerequisites, the things you need to have before you start actually. So we are going to build a table to show recent payments. Here are our data looks like. So they have the data. So here they have the data itself is the payments, and then they extracted the type of this payment. It has these data types. They have the shape of this data here, and we'll be looking at all this in TypeScript. But for now, we're just going to focus on just JS. So they have the payments, okay, and the data has ID, amount, status, and the email, okay. So now they have only the data, and then afterwards, so this data can come from the API, as you know that. So now here they have the product structure. Start by creating the following file structure. So you can see they have the payments. Let's say these are categories. Under the categories, they created 3 things, okay. So they have, for instance, the page, which is going actually to display the data. And so they have 2 things. They have the data table and the columns. So I'm just going to go, for instance, to the I'm just going to go to this create a new thing, because I just don't want to mix all this. I just want us to actually implement it, then after we just actually transform it into other things. So I'm just going to go into the back office. So into the back office we have this dashboard. So on the dashboard, I'm just going to create payments. This is just like to make it follow the same documentation, so that we don't give ourselves chances to fail. So payments, and then inside here they said very well that we need 3 things. We need the columns, data table, and the page. So I'm just going to go ahead and create all those ones. So I'll just create inside this one, I'll create the columns .jsx, and then they also have the data table itself. Sorry. Then they have data table .jsx. So that is the second file, and then finally they have the page .jsx. Okay, so these are the 3 files we need. So just move slowly one by one. Okay, so we have this has installed. We can just go ahead and add this. First confirm if this actually installed. Yep, you can see done. Let's just go ahead and add this before we continue. So just add this stack table, just like this. npm install the stack table. Okay. I don't know why I right clicked. My machine right now is very slow, guys. Just pray for me. I need to buy a new machine. This machine really, it drags me slow sometimes. It wakes up with some moods some mornings, and like it is very slow. Okay, but I just wait for a second and I see if I can just copy this. I can just go ahead and I just install this at stack stroke React table. I don't know why we can't do that. So just going to come here and I say npm install. Okay, just go ahead and we can just run npm install at stack, just like that, and then React table. I think that's how it is written. We can just confirm one more time. Npm install at stack React table, just like that. Stack React table, and just go ahead and install that. So just continue. We just like here where they told us to create the 3 files. I'm just going to drop this one a little bit down. So we have the three, the payments, we have the columns, the data table itself, and the page to display this data table. So let's start with the simplest. The first thing they said, this is the data they have, looks like this, which is very okay. So you can see at the start they define the types. So let's just go down on the structure. So they said is using Next.js here, but can work with other frameworks. So the columns.txt is a client component. This will contain our column definitions. Okay, so the columns that are on the data, and the data table is also a client component that will contain our data table component. And then the page component, which is a server component, is where actually we'll fetch the data and render our table. So let's just go down here. So first of all, we define our columns. So in this is the payments and then column.txt. We can just go ahead and copy this, and let's go to our columns.txt, and you can just simply paste this. Okay, and then I'll just simply extract of some actually the unnecessary information or the TypeScript part. Okay, so if you just scroll up, okay, if you scroll up, so we have imported the first thing we have here is we imported the column definition from stack table. And then here we have the types. Now in the future we'll be seeing how to use these types. For now, let's remove them. Okay, so now after defining this, you see this column definition, they are passing the data types here, so you can just go ahead and actually remove this. Okay, so we have const columns, and then these columns is an array. And if you check in the array, they have two things. They have the actual column, for instance the header, and then the accessor key. Now they have this header to display, and then this accessor key is the actual data from the database, as you can see the key. Okay, and then they have all these columns, as simple as that. Okay, now as you can see here, after removing the TypeScript, I think we also don't need this the column definition. Okay, so we have our columns, we define how they look like. Let's move on. So the second thing they have is that so here we have the export const as that. Now we continue to say note, columns are where you define the core of what your table will look like. They define the data that will be displayed, how it will be formatted, sorted, and filtered. This is where you put all those things. The filtering, the sorting, and everything, and the format is all put in the column.txt. Now, if we continue down, we just have this data table component. Next, we will create a data table component to render our data. So we have our payments data table.txt. I'm just going to copy this. Just go to our data table in the second file like this, and maybe let's first make sure this is actually a component. If you just look at it, they just actually exported. Okay, remember this is not a page, this is just like a component. If you just look here, it's just like a function, only just exporting the columns. Okay, then go to data table. Okay, so just come on data table just like that, and then on data table now we can just go ahead and see the parts that we actually don't need. Okay, so just go on top here. Okay, so the first thing is they imported some of these from the stack table. Then they also got the components from actually the components UI, which we already have. Now here they're defining the interface for actually columns and the data. So we actually don't need this. Okay, this interface. Okay, and here they have the function data table, and they were defining its generics here. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove this, and inside here we have the two things we need to accept the columns and the data. They went ahead and defined their types here. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and actually remove these types. Okay, so next, if you just look at it inside, they have the first const is they are extracting here. Const table is use React table, and they passed in these three things. They have the data, the columns, and the get core row model, which they are defining. This is a function which is getting get core row model. I guess this is the function that they are using to get the rows. So on the return, okay, so on the return they have this class name, rounded MD border, and then they have the table. So they have the table header, and then they have the table body. This one understandable, that we all know that the table component is composed of two things. Okay, a table is always composed of two things: the table header and the table body. Now in the table header is where we put the columns. So if we just go in the table header, we are just getting table dot get header groups, which is a function. Now this one is the one which gets, I think, the headers. Okay, and then they are mapping through the header, they accept the header group. Then they have the table row where they pass the key, and then the header group dot headers, then they get this. Okay, and then we have the table head where they pass. I just want to see where they pass the columns. Okay, so they have the Frix render, blah blah, and they have the table head. Okay, and if you just look at the header, it essentially contains the column, then column definition, then the header. Remember, in our columns, if you remember it, there is this header, there is this accessor key, and then there is the header. So if I just look at the look of things, if you just look at the data table, they have the on the header is where they have this the header, and then they have on the header they are getting the context. I think this is how they get the text. Then down, and you can see the row. So wherever we want a row, we define it by a table row. Okay, and then here that's why we have the table head, like the th, I guess. And then inside here, then we have this Frix render. Now I think this is just like a function. Okay, if rendering header cells or footers with column markup, use the Frix render instead of cell dot get value. Okay, so this then we have the table body. Now the table body, they just get the rows, and from this function table dot get row model, they have this the rows from the get row model. Then they check the length. They're saying dot length. If this is true, then they go ahead and they render the rows. Okay, this is like to make sure that they have something inside, and then they go ahead and they render the rows. And then we have also this table row, as we had seen. Then they have this data set where they have the row dot get is selected and selected. I think this is for the columns which has the select. Then we also have the cell column, and then we have dot cell. Okay, then they have the context. Okay, and this only happens if the length is greater, or if there is this, then we show no result. Okay, great. So just move on, and the last one is actually, so tip: if you find yourself using a table in multiple places, this component you could reuse by extracting it to components UI datatable.txt. They are telling us where actually want to put it. We'll just see that, and then you see that table columns, and then the data. Okay, so we'll do that. Okay, so they say render the table in the page. So in the page here, they have the data, and then they also have this. Okay, and they told us where to put it. We just work on that later on, but for now they just do the way exactly they have instructed, so that we get this one up and running. So just go ahead, and now in the page, let's just actually go ahead and give this a try. So they have here the function async get data. Okay, it returns a promise, and we'll be looking at all these when we start using TypeScript. For now, let's just remove this. So fetch all your data from the API, and then here they have only just return this. Okay, and then down there they are getting the data, and this is a really nice demonstration actually. Okay, and I think we're just going to use for categories, and then we'll just see how it works. And then here data table, and then you have the columns plus the data. Now where are we getting the columns? If you just look at it, they're importing the columns from dot columns, which is just here, and then data table from dot data. Okay, and then they come here, they pass the columns and the data. So you can see the data is what they have in this get data. I think it only have one column right now. So just go and see. I think up to this point now we should be able to see the data in our component. So let's just go and just go to the data table here where we have categories. I'm just going to put payments, so that we look at exactly what we are having right now, or if we have any errors, we try to actually fix them. Okay, so I'm just going to dashboard / payments is actually where we have this. In the dashboard we have payments, and that's why we have the page dot actually JSX. So just wait for a second, and then we see actually how it looks like. Now this actually looks nice, and we have it actually in working. And by the way, this already has the light mode and the dark mode support, except the text in the light mode. Maybe we'll just work on that later, but in the dark mode it looks nice. So let's just move on. So this is the basic table, and we have just put in the status, email, and amount, everything just like that. Now moving on, I would want to change this since we actually have this data going on. Let's just go into use example of categories. Okay, since this is we're going to give this example using the category, so that we see actually if we can put these things using our data. So the first thing is you look at our data, how it is here. Okay, this is how the data looks like. So we have these tables, flag, blah blah, all these things here. Okay, so I just want to come and define our data. So in the columns, this is what we have here. Okay, so we have the columns, and for each of these they have this thing. Okay, so the first thing, for instance, we have the title. So I'm just going to bring in the title. Okay, so accessor key here is going to be title in small caps, and then here is going to be title in capital caps, just like that. Now just move on. We're just going to bring in also the, now for the image, let's first leave the image. Maybe we'll just see how to bring in the image. For now, let's maybe look at the description. Okay, let's look at the description, and maybe is active. Okay, so let me just go here and just going to put the description. So just going to say description in small caps, description, and then here on the header you actually put the description, just like that. And then in this accessor, they have the amount. Now I'm just going to put is active. Okay, I'm just going to put accessor key here is active. So you say here is active exactly the way it is in this, and then I'll just say here is active, maybe just like that, the on the header. Now I'm just going to put one more for the date. So actually, just we see how, just going to put the date, just do this. I'm just going to go here. Accessor key is going to be the one created at the way it is, just like that. Okay, so just say created at, and then this one we can say maybe date created actually. Okay, so you could just like on the header, this is the one which is actually just like date created, as simple as that. So we have, this is the data we have from the database. We're just going to get them just like this. So the columns have been defined. We go to the data. Okay, and now let's see how we need to do this. Okay, so if you just go here, you look at our data, they just saying we have the data and the columns. The first thing is actually defining the table. I think it is very important. Is first defining the table, because if you just look at it, they are giving it the data, okay, that is entering here, and then the get core row model, okay, I think and returns, if you just see here, this required option is a factory for a function that computes and returns the core row model for the this. Okay, so we have no much to change here. Okay, so let's just first see in this, they are accessing the headers, and I don't think here we have anything else we actually need to show, because everything is actually gotten the way it is. Now let's go to our data. So where we have like this payments demo page, just going to say, so we have our get data function already actually, so we don't need to use this async get data function. You remember very well, we actually have already a function we are using for getting the data. So I'm just going to remove this one. I'm just going to go, actually it is the same name, so simply remove after this and say get data. And the get data function we have is actually in the libs folder. So now we get the data, await, and then for this one, if you hover there, you said we pass in the endpoint. Okay, we pass in the endpoint, and now just going to pass in categories. So this one should be able to actually get the data. Okay, so now we pass in the columns, and then we pass in the data. Now let's just go and see if we have any changes onto our UI. So on this place we have this here we have the title, description is active, and date created. We don't have any data yet. Okay, so the data now has come actually, and we are seeing it in here, and this is really nice. Okay, at least we have just now and displayed our own data. I think this is really powerful and I like it. Okay, so now one thing that we have to do is just going ahead, and now we're just going to use this start adding more things according to how they say here. The first one is cell formatting. So let's format the amount cell to display the dollar amount. We'll also assign the cell to the right. Okay, so he said update the column definitions. To update the header and the cell definition for the amount as follows. So he went into the columns. Okay, now into the, this header, it has the accessor and then it has the header. Now he added two things. He added the header. Okay, he actually put a component he wants to return. If you look at it, he said he wants to return a div with the text right, just like that. Now actually this comes after, say let's go and add the image, so that we see how we are going to handle this. So after the title, I'm just going to add the image. I actually think it is called image URL. If you look in our data, it is called image URL. Okay, so as we are learning, we just have to actually keep on pushing sorry in the columns. I'm just going to, after this title, I'm just going to go ahead and add one more. For instance, I'm just going to add the image URL, and then down here I'm just going to go ahead and add the image, just the table name, the header I want it to create just the image, or you could just go ahead and say category image. Okay, so you could just give it like category image, whatever you just want to choose. Okay, just like this. Now this we just actually go ahead and add the link to the URL, I believe. So if you just like wait for a second and let's see, it is refreshing here. Okay, and by the way, so now you can see that actually on the category image we have this URL just like this. Okay, so great. So now let's go ahead and see how we can use also this function. So you see here in this header, they added two things. Okay, he added the header, he modified the header on what should be returned. Let's just go and see what is this. So we just want to return an image just like that. So just copy this div, okay, and just come back to the columns, more especially on this which has the image. So instead of doing this, I'm just going to return actually also a function. Let me just copy exactly the way it is. Actually, it is just a function that returns. So a header can become a function that actually returns a JSX. So you see, just like this, as simple as that. So we have this the header function which actually returns this text amount, and now here we could put the image. So now instead of actually doing this, I just want to do is, we know very well that this header, it should be actually an image component. So they just actually just try to use an image. So I'm just going to go inside here. Okay, I'm just going to try to inside here and try to actually put an image. So if we think about it, we are supposed to, and this is the header. I think it's supposed to be in the format. I'm not sure. Okay. So if you just look at the format here, you can see at the end of the day, he actually returns also a div in the cell. So I think onto this one, okay, if wanted to format like the looks, maybe we just do it from here. But I think this one we can actually just leave it exactly the way it is, the way this header function. Let me just go back to the category image. I'm just going to only add this cell function. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this cell function here, and you see actually how we can use this on our advantage. Seems like I'm just leaving only one thing here. Let me just go ahead and copy up to this level. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm copying all of it right. Okay, so just come here and let's just go ahead and add this cell. So you just add the cell, and the cell, it actually takes in the row. Okay, so this cell gets in the data in the form of a row, and then is actually manipulating it here. Now for us, we actually don't want to manipulate so much in all this, okay, because it's getting the formatted from blah blah format dot amount. Okay, the only thing we just need to get is the image URL. So I'm just going to remove and get here and say image URL. Okay, so image URL is going to get, maybe we don't need to pass in this to convert it into a float. Just simply, actually, I think we'll use this one on the when you're just getting for the created date. That's why I left it there. So here we just simply get the image URL using this row. The data, I think, is on the row, then get value, which is going to be image URL. So this one gets the value of the image URL and saves it here. Now inside here we have this div. Now in this div here, that's why we are going to use the image component. Okay, so I just simply want to return the image component at this point here. Now we could just go ahead and create inside this div, then we add some more stuff, but I think we could pass the image component right away from here. Okay, so I'm just going to go here and say image and this image is going to be from next image. Okay, in fact, just take it slow, and we first pass in the normal image img, because this one will not have issues with the formatting. Okay, so this we could just pass in the src. Okay, and this src is going to be actually the image url, just like that. And then we have this, just going to give it some text, and then just going to give it width of actually just maybe like 24. I don't know if 24 exists, and then the height of also 24. I just go in it and make it rounded full, just like this. Okay, and then here, instead of the actually formatted, the img actually is, I think, one tag instead of closing tag, right? So you're just going to put this like that. So it has the img, which takes in the image url, and then we have this class, okay, which actually just have this rounded. Do we need to give it anything? We have given it width and height. Okay, and just leave it at like that. Okay, so actually formatting it, I think like that, it should be enough. We're just going to do the same thing actually, so you can see you can use the same approach to format other cell headers. That's the point actually of guiding us like that. So just go and wait and see actually what happens to this category image. Okay, I just wait a bit and we see if this actually just going to just actually render the image. Okay, and you're just going to apply the same thing actually to this the date created, and we're just going to convert it back to the normal date. Okay, so just wait actually and see if this actually is going to work. Then afterwards we're just going to convert it into the image component, the Next.js image component. But for now, just using the normal image component, and we see actually if this is able to be able to render it, and it's just here. Just going to wait and see if we get errors. We try to fix them. Otherwise, we just actually move on. It seems we have some errors. So type error cannot read properties of null use context. So now what would be the problem? Okay, so we have this cell thing moving on. So we have this image url. I would just be really want to see if actually just say console.log this image url and see actually if it is actually coming up. So just say console.log, and you're just going to see image url. Image url, just like this. Now here, for now, actually just let's return. We could just even return null, just like empty, just like that. Okay, or we could just like a second, we could just turn this into a div. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this image, and then instead I'm just going to return a p tag, which actually shows the image url. Okay, so just say here image url. So just like that. Then for this one, let me just paste it here and comment it out. So just go back and see if now we just get off this error, and it just continue troubleshooting, seeing how we just going to see this working. So we'll also just actually go to the console. We see if actually we are able to see Okay, so the image URL is there, and we actually have the actual one. Now it seems it is actually the image component that we need to use. Instead of using this one, we just have to use the image component. So if I check in the console, we have, or actually I think the the console for the images, they are all there. So I just go and stop this. Okay, so instead I'm just going to turn this into an image component. So just go back on this return here. Now I think this the normal image, it is very hard to actually just use this. They just go ahead and use the image component from next image. We give it the source, we give it this. Now we could just also give it the width part, and then also give it the height property, just like that, because we know very well if it is using an external image, it has to have these two on it, and these ones, they help in responsive. Now let's just add any figures. I don't know the image sizes like this, but just say put like actually like 500. Like on both cases, let's put like 500, and we see what would happen right now after giving it this one. And you can just go ahead and give it also object fit. So you could just say object cover, so that it actually fits in real well. So just go ahead and go out of this, and I'm just going to remove also this console. Okay, so let's just go ahead and see if actually we have something this time. Okay, and I think you still have the same error, because I'm seeing it is displaying why cannot read properties of null. Now I don't know where this one actually is, because we are actually returning this. Okay, let's just go back to the chart and we see one thing maybe we have to notice. So we have this whole row the way it is. Okay, maybe are we just like finishing the entire row? Let me just see. So we have this the share, then after then we have this closing. Let me just see. I'm seeing here we have the return. I don't know why in this. Maybe we just put it in a div. Okay, let's just try to actually put this in a div and see what actually happens. So I'm just going to cut this and then just return a div, just like that, and then put this in the div, and I see if there is any changes whatsoever. I don't know if the context they are meaning, I'm not sure of the context they are talking about, but I just put it in a div and maybe see if we have any changes. Okay, so this actually works. So we have the images being actually put here. This is really great. Okay, so we have this image right now. I think you just work on some things, more especially, I don't know. Okay, so here we just put height 4. I think it's supposed to be 24 to have the image in a square and rounded. Let's just wait and see. Now we go back to have the same problem. Let me just go ahead and see. So the images are just like that. I think this is because of the shrink. I don't know if I just give this one a class name of shrink 0. Okay, and also change this maybe to something lower. We just want to make this one sorry, so just make this one maybe 16, and also if 16 is there, Okay, and see, so we have this now meet. Okay, so that this is looking right now nice. I think maybe it is too big still. We just go ahead and still reduce this and now to maybe 10. Okay, we just see if 10 is there. Okay, 10 is there, and we could just remove this to 10, so that actually just like really small. So just simply refresh. I don't know what is this context, I don't know, but for some reason if you refresh it works. So we have the 10. I think this one looks perfect. Now I'm just going to use it on the same thing to actually just onto this. Okay, so this one we just want to show one line. So just going to clamp this. So what I would do is you would also bring this the cell. Okay, just copy this function, the cell function. Okay, and let's bring it to the description here. Now this we don't actually just need to do anything. We'll just do a div, and then inside here just going to return. Okay, so just give this one to have a, I think it is line clamp, something like that. So just going to give it line clamp 1, and then inside here I'm just going to have this. You can just go ahead and go and get the description. We could just go and go, the description is equal.get description, and then you can just put description here. Now this one should solve our problem, just to actually just put this one to line clamp, and it shows one line instead actually of 3 lines, of 2 lines maybe. Just refresh. Yeah, so you can see it is now 1 line. Okay, so the concept now works really well. Now just going to apply the format function on this date, converting this date. Okay, so I'm just going to give this to ChatGPT to avoid wasting time. So just open chat here in a second. Okay, so what I just simply want to convert is converting this date from this format. Okay, so we have the date in this format. Would want you to put it in the, maybe something like, so 2023 December 10th was the 11th, so maybe we just want to say deck. I would want to put in something like, so just copy this. So I'm just going to say I am using Next.js, so I want to convert the date from this format. So just going to give the format here to something like deck, maybe something like, I don't know, maybe to 11th, maybe 11th deck, I don't know, 11th deck 2023, just like that. Let's just see. Is using use effect. We do not just want to create anything to do with use effect. So is just getting the date So it's saying original date, and then const date, day, month, year, and then they formatted. So just copy only this. Okay, so first of all, let's go back here and copy this function, the sell function. Okay, just copy this and let's go to this here on the created date. First of all, let's get this created at date, just like that. And then just go ahead and copy this here. Okay, and then just put it here. So the original date, okay, is getting here, and we pass in this, the created at. So just pass in here created, okay, created at. So we just create the original date. Then from there we can just get these, the day, month, and year. So we just get this from get date, then to local string, get the short one, and then we have the formatted date, which is this one. And then we can just go here and we return not line clamp. We could just return a div, and then inside here we just return this formatted. Okay, just like this. This one should sort our date problem. Let's see. Let me just refresh one more time. Okay, so you can see we have 11th deck, 2023. We have the 6th deck, and all the date is sorted right now. Now the description, I think we will have to take it off. It is the one which is making our stuff like this. So you can just go to the description and actually first take this one off. Let me just remove this. Let me first take the description off for now. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Just having some flu and cough, but let's just continue and see if we can just get this working. So already we are now familiar with using the and I'm very happy that we're just able to use these functions to actually be able to use it on our advantage. Okay, now we have this true. I think we'll also use the format function to show the other thing is active to render a necessary thing. We'll use it in the future, but for now let's just leave it like that. So just continue with DataTable so that we add in more nice things to it. Okay, so the first thing is the actions. You can use the same approach. Okay, so the first one is the actions. Let's add raw actions to our table. We will use the drop down component for this. They will use a drop down component for this. Update column definitions. So update our column definition to add a new action column, and the action cell returns a drop down component. So I guess at this point we will have to have a drop down, since we already have the drop down installed. But if we didn't have it, I think would have to install this. But I think we already have the drop down component somewhere. So you see they're just updating instead in the columns. One, they're importing this on top. They're importing actually more things. This more horizontal. So I'm just going to go copy these three, just like that. So we just copy those. Just go to these columns. We are still in the columns, and then just import this on top. Okay, so down here in this, in the columns, they are adding one ID actions with the sale and the return. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead, copy this, okay, as a column. I don't know if it reaches up to this point. Just copy like that. So on top here, we can just add one more column. I don't know if you're supposed to add it at the beginning or at the end, but just add this. Now in this column, you can see they are adding their own actions. Okay, they have ID, so it has these actions. It has the head and what. Now what it has, you can see they are getting the action they want to put. They are saying that they want to get payment, which is raw.original. So here maybe, I don't know. And then they have this open menu, then they have the actions, and then they are doing whatever they want to do with it here. Okay, so since we don't have this, we can just like maybe see here on the row, we can just put one thing, maybe just say put let's just put like something like what on our data. Let's just go here. We say that on the API we have, for instance, let's just maybe use something that is short, like is active. Okay, just add the is active. For instance, here we could just say is active is raw dot just be raw dot is active, just like that. And then inside here, just use this wherever they just have to use. So you can see actions they're using on click, the navigator dot right. So just say payment. I'm just going to put write this and then copy the maybe the status, whatever they just doing, just to have something to live there. But I just guess here we can add more things. You can see you have me view this here. We'll be putting the links for the edit and actually delete. Here we'll be putting this. Okay, just going to see view category. Maybe here just going to have like delete category. You just see here delete like category, and then you just say like here edit category, something like that. Edit category. Okay, we just have to do that on the edit. I'm not sure if we're supposed to put it at the first. Let's just go and see what changes here. So import button. So you have to install this button. Okay, because it is not there. So just go to this. I'm just going to duplicate. I don't want to lose this page, so just duplicate this. Okay, and then just go on components and then just go on button. So just go and scroll down, so to where we have the button here, and the only thing we just need to do is install it here. Okay, just like that. Just go here and let's install it, just like that. Okay, just install, and after the installation, just then the usage, and I think that's it. And if you want to use it, by the way, this is very important, you can use the button variant setup to create a link that looks like a button. Okay, but this is very important when you're just using it. You can just say import then they have this button variants. You can just do this. Alternatively, you can use as child parameter and nest the link component. Just, I think this is just nice. I've used this before. I was wondering how you do it, but here you can actually just use the link itself. Okay, so you can just use the link and then use the variants, and then you can say button of variants, then you access the variant. But I think this one is much better. Okay, just go and see if the installation is happening. Just wait for a second and see if this is going to install. Okay, just installing the button component so that we can just use it in our cell. And meanwhile, I can just go back to the columns. I think the most or the most important work is actually in the columns. Okay, yeah. This button, we are actually just using it here. Okay, on the trigger. Now we could just create our own button, but could just use that. Okay, it is taking more time. I might just have to simply do this. I could just say comment out this first. Okay, and then just use a normal button. Okay, and it says open menu. Okay, so that I can just comment out this one. So just going to temporarily comment out this. Okay, so that we can just like move on. So just come back to this place. So just now going to wait and then like reload, because we have commented out line 6, so it should just trigger a reload. Okay, so it is reloading. Let's just wait and see. Just wait and see if it actually can display this. Just simply refresh again. Just going to research about this use context. Now I'm not seeing where the it is at the beginning here. Okay, so you just open the menu. Let's see. Okay, so the menu comes, actually we just want this one to be this side. Okay, at the extreme end. Okay, so that's why. So this, okay, you can just cut this. Okay, and then take it to extreme end. Okay, so after this here, you can just go and minimize this created art, and then down here we can add this. Okay, so the component is installing. So just want it to add it at the extreme end, but temporarily you can see it is opening the menu, and then we can do whatever just want to do. For instance, those things of like edit, we can just actually put them under the more actions. Okay, someone you can just like go to the, okay, just you can see to this side at the end. So the button is installing. When it finishes, we'll just actually use it there. But this is to show us how we can add the actions. Okay, how we can add the actions, and then in the actions you can still access the row, and then you can have all the things you want. For instance, we can create links for the edit page and all those kind of things, and we'll just see in the future how we are going to work on manipulating those ones. From this row we have access to all the data, and now we can just start like creating the links, creating all whatever we want. Okay, so great. We're just going to leave it at like that for now. Let's continue adding more things. So you can see that you can access the row. So you see the raw data using the raw.original function. Use the actions to use the ID to make, you can see here, to make the delete. Okay, so you can call your API. So you see here is also guiding. If you get the ID, okay, as you can see here, you can have raw.id, I guess somewhere. Let's see. So you can see as the raw, and then you can just actually in down here is accessing raw.id. Okay, so you see here's payment like .id blah blah. So you can just like access all the things, and now you can just like, for instance, have the delete and all this kind of stuff. Now the nice part is the pagination. Let's first see if this one has finished installing, and now instead let's activate this. Okay, remove this and just go up here. Let's also go ahead and activate this import. Okay, so now it should give us a nice looking this open with the dots. Okay, so meanwhile let's just see how we're just going to put in. Let's close this button. Let's go ahead and see how we're just going to put in the data table, the pagination. So this one is still updating. We'll just wait and see. So now down here you see that next is pagination. We add pagination to our table. So update the data table. So this one we update the data table itself. Okay, so the first thing they're importing here is this. Okay, the first thing here just going to replace instead all of this, the import, but I think they have just added this get pagination raw model. So if I just go to the data table, just go to the data table. Okay, and the only thing they just added in here first is the import on top here, and then inside this import, so here they had imported these few things. They just actually get all these things inside here. So we have all these things here. So just added this, actually the get pagination raw model. Okay, so now from that, the next thing is inside the table. You can see they have added if I just zoom in a little bit, so you can see that they have added inside, we have this data, and inside the table they have added in more get this get pagination raw model. They have just added in this thing. You see here we have get core raw model, which was this one. Now they have added in get pagination raw model, okay, which is this. So let me just copy this and just go to our table. So scroll down to this table. So down here they have added this get pagination raw model. So after getting that function, now this will automatically paginate your rows into so here your rows into pages of 10. See the pagination docs for more information on customizing the page size and implementing manually. But for now, let's just leave it at 10. Okay, so adding the pagination controls. So we can add pagination control to our table using the button component and the table previous and then table next page. So it has already the API methods, these two. the previous page and the next page. So they go to the data table, and you can see they have the table. Now down after this table, now you can see as if they added an extra div. Now they have these flex. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. Okay, if you notice, let's first go back. Let's get this one actually down. So if you notice, we have this the table. Just close the table. So this is the table. If you think about it, this is the div. We have the rounded. You can see they added one more extra div, okay, to cater for the, so just going to add this div so that it is one component. So after adding that, I just go and minimize this. Okay, just save. So we have this as our table. Then down here is where we add the pagination. Okay, so now if you just see anything after this, okay, so just copy from here up to here. Okay, so just come here down, let's add the pagination. Now it is using the button component. You can import this from the button, and if it is not importing automatically, we can just simply get it. I think they have it on top here. We already have the button. I am not sure. I'm not sure if we already have this. Let's scroll just like this. They must be having the button on top here. Yeah, you can just see the button. Let's just go ahead and get this, just the button. Okay, so scroll up here and you just put the button here. Okay, so now let's see if we have the pagination. I think that's the only thing they say after adding these, let's say the steps actually. Okay, so now you can see this, they have done for us those APIs. Let's just go and see. Here it is. So button is not defined. We have just actually put the button. Just wait for a second and see. Okay, so we have down here these three dots. If you click them, they open this, they edit, delete category. So just actually I'll have to add the icons. Okay, just add the icons here. Just go down. Now we have actually next and previous. Okay, now I don't know if we have already 10. Okay, so let's just say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Actually just there are 10, and you can just like go to the next. Yeah, so actually we have 11. You can see we have this next and previous working. So the pagination right now is working. Let's move on, guys. I mean, actually 10 is okay, but in the future we have to go and read that documentation. So see reusable component section for more advanced pagination component. Okay, so we just actually be reading these docs in later videos to see how we can, because after making this table component, after we have made this table component work very well, we can reuse it all in our project. So we just take time and customize it. Now just go to sorting. Let's make email column sortable. So first we're just going to make the title sortable. So you see update, so you update the data table actually. Okay, so just go to this. Now they have imported now to the sorting state and get sorted raw model. So every time you want to do, let me just copy this. go back to this at these ones, just update these. Okay, that's great. Now down in the columns, you can see here we are using actually use state. So export data, then here we have the sorting and set sorting. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this, and this is put under inside the data table function. So we have the data table function. So scroll down inside this data table function. So on top here, we can actually have settings, set sorting to use state. Now we could just say react dot use state. Okay, I'm not a fan of doing this. You could just like go ahead and use only use state itself, like here, and then let's import this use state from React. Okay, just on top here, you make sure it has imported. Okay, yep. And then we are setting it as an empty array. Okay, they just see where this one goes. Okay, so next is so next is adding these here. Okay, next is adding these the state is sorting, so add these here inside the table, so we keep on populating the table, and this is good because we are progressively adding one thing at a time. So I'm just going to come here, then update this. Okay, and we have added just on sorting change to set sorting the function, and then say get sorted raw model is get sorted raw model, and it sets the state to that. Now down here, I don't think we are changing anything, so you're not changing anything. Now I want to know how do we pass in the so far I haven't seen the raw, the raw. Okay, so make the header cell now sortable, so you can now update the email header cell to add the sorting controls. Okay, so first of all, just get these arrows, the up and down. Okay, so in the columns, okay, so in the columns, I just go to these columns. Where are the columns? Where are the columns? Here. So just add this. Okay, and now you can just see on the email. Okay, he has added this header, so update this header now. We just go and update the header for the title, so just have this, and then up to here, then this. Yeah, so up to that point, just copy this header, and then just go to this key, which is the title, the first one, and just go update this header here. Okay, so the header, it has ability to access also the column. So button, which we already have the button, I believe. They just move up. We have the button somewhere, right? Yeah, so we have the button. Column toggle sorting, column dot get sorted, and then ascending. Here, just go and see title. Okay. Yeah, so as simple as that. I think that one should just add it. If you scroll down, this will automatically sort the table ascending and descending when the user toggles. Okay, so you can just like test out that before we go to the next one. There is some error we are having here. The name is defined multiple times, so this more horizontal. Do we have this? Yeah, so we already have this. Okay, let's just go ahead and see if this updates now. Okay, so I'm just going to see and wait and see. Okay, so now the table sort of has now these arrows. Okay, so they have this meat food supply. Let's click and see. Yeah, so now we have the animals starting on top. Yeah, so this is working, guys. So this filtering is actually working. So that's great. So we have able to put the filtering. I'm just like very happy how we are progressively using all this to update our table here. Okay, sorry, the machine is freezing. Let's just go back here. Now the other thing is filtering. Okay, so let's add the search input to filter emails in our table. That's great. So the first thing is update the data table. So the data table, we have to add all these now. So just go and update this, copy this, go to the data table. Okay, and let's update the import here. Okay, the next is we have the button, and this time we have the input also from the components, and this one we have to install also the inputs. So just go here, duplicate, because we have to use, I don't know why I removed the other page. Just like I'm just going to leave this page for installing the components that we don't have. So you have to install the input component. So go here on the side of components, let's scroll down somewhere and see if we can just get a click on these components. Let's scroll down here to the input. So we have this input component. Okay, just like that. Just copy it and let's go ahead and install it. Okay, just add it just like that, and let's just scroll down and we'll be putting others as it is installing. So the first thing is importing the input. We just import that, and I just comment it out meanwhile as it is installing. So just put it here in the data and make sure you just for now put it off as it hasn't installed. So down in the data, you see we have the sorting. Now we have the column filters. Okay, so we have to create another one, another use state for the column filters. So just scroll down to where we have the state sorting. I'm just going to now have the column filters, set column filters to equal use state, also as an empty. So just simply put this one here, Control C, and just going to put use state just like that. Okay, so we have set column filters also as an empty array just like that. So you just update this the table. Okay, so just copy this to update this table here. So const table, it has all this, and I believe right now we're just going to add the state. So you can see we have the sorted row and then the filter, and then here the state, we have the sorting and the column filters. Okay, so moving on, and here the only thing you just put actually, so you can see we have this div. So on top of this div, we are adding one more div. okay, that is having actually the input. Okay, so just on top of it we are adding one div, and this one hasn't installed yet. I don't know what it is waiting. So on this, before this pagination, there's table here. So on top here, we're just going to simply add this. Okay, so we're having this string, so just remove these castings. So here they were casting this as a string, they're giving it a default of an empty. Now we have a problem of this input. I don't know why it is not installing down there. Let's see any other problem we have. Let me just first bring this input. So you have the input here. So down here we still have this squiggly. Let me just see expected, the end. Let's just see table.get column, and then here we're just going to see just going to filter the titles. Okay, we'll filter the titles, and then here we have the column title. Okay, and then here so title. Okay, and then we have the only change everything. The only thing we have is this, the default. I don't think it is a problem, because even JavaScript, this one means that give a default value. So you can just put this double question mark, means like you are setting the default value onto this. Okay, so the only thing that is now letting us down is this. I don't know why it is not installing. So after that it is done. Okay, so one thing that will be remaining is visibility. So filtering now is enabled for the email column. You can add the filters to other columns as well. See the filtering docs for more customizing. So we'll be seeing this if we want to do. There is visibility, so where you put like this. Let's first go and see why this is not installing. Okay, meanwhile I'm just going to also just comment this as we just wait for this to install. We suggest it. Just go ahead and add this visibility. So adding a column visibility is fairly simple using this API. So the visibility, I guess, is the one where you can just toggle off some columns. So just say adding the column visibility. So just come down here. So to the data table, let's update this import. Okay, so on top here I'm just going to update the import. Okay, just go ahead and update this import. Okay, just drop down this just a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to come here and just update this import. This time we just use React table. Okay, and we have also this visibility state. Okay, so now down we have the drop down, so we're just getting this from the drop down. So just copy this drop down. Okay, so down here we're just going to put the drop down just like that. Okay, so down, let's see if we have added something. So we have added one more state for the column visibility. So add this, and this one is an empty object by default. Unlike these first two, this one is an empty object on initialization. So just scroll down here where we have these states down here, and I'm just going to say column visibility. I'm just going to say it is use state. So just copy this, okay, and then just this one, make it as an empty object, just like that. Let's update the table. So down here in the table, they have added, okay, they just go ahead and update this. Okay, so just the table here. So this has installed. Okay, let me just update this table here. Okay, just added one more column visibility in the state. Okay, so down here, so we have filtering for the emails, and then after that we add a drop down. Okay, let me just first go ahead and see what we have so far here. So just put this input back. We still have this problem, get filter value, and then giving this default. I don't know why. Let me first remove it and I see. Seems like it is lacking actually one thing here. So table.get column.get this, as if there is one missing this, and just give it the default to be the empty as it was, just like that. So we have this input. Okay, so let's go and see, before we add the drop down, let's go and check if we can actually filter. So we have this, the email thing showing up here. We'll of course customize these colors later on, but for us what we just want to see is if I see food supplements. Yep, so the search is working fairly well. Ground. Okay, so that's really nice. Now next we just like adding on to this. If you look at it, since this is Flex item center, I think that's why we are adding it there. So if you just go back to data table, you see we have this Flex. The first thing we have these. Okay, I'm seeing this, the input has this class name, stops here, and then after we have this drop down. Okay, so just have to copy this drop down. Okay, just go and copy this drop down until the end here. Let's copy this. Now this drop down is in Flex with this, just like that. Now let's see if we need to show the column. So here it has drop down, trigger the child columns, table dot get all columns, filter column. Okay, so I think here we don't need to do anything, just like that. Okay, so we have all the columns. Let's just go and see. Okay, so you have the columns here. If you click them, now let's actually, they have all these ones. Let's say we don't want to see is active. Okay, so is active is gone. You click again on the columns. Let's show is active. So this is working. We can just hide anything we want and show it back. Great. Okay, so now next, that is I think last, is just like going to add the row selection. So next we are going to add the row selection to our table. So first of all, we have to update the column definitions, add the checkbox. So in the columns, first of all, we have to add this, and that is also another UI component. Okay, the checkbox. So go here, let's just go to C, checkbox here. Okay, So you have to add the checkbox component. Am I on the checkbox? Just add here. I don't know why it is not changing. It is the machine freezing, I guess, but just wait and see in a second. I don't know if I just add here components checkbox on this. Can it work? Checkbox. The machine is freezing. We are about to finish. Okay, so we have the checkbox at the end of the day. Okay, so I'm just going to come here on the API, then you see the control, which is this, the npm, and just go here, add it. Okay, just add the checkbox. Now let's go back this side. We'll import it here, and then we comment it as it is still installing. So go back to the columns, and then the columns on top here, let's get the checkbox, but we comment it out. Now another thing that on the first we have this ID of select. Okay, so just going to add that column. Actually, just like as simple as that, I guess. So we have the header, so just go ahead and just copy this, all of it. Okay, sorry, just go back. Okay, up to here. Okay, so copy this. I think it is only one. Just like that. Yep, so just we have copied this. Let's go back here. We just go to the columns. Let me minimize this as it is thinking of installing. So just going to go ahead. So under the columns, the first one, we just need it to be now the checkbox. So just paste this. Okay, it is using this checkbox. Okay, so I know now we don't have it. It is going to give us a lot of errors, but let's see if we see everything is now finished. To update the data table, so we have to update the data table, and in data table what we just like putting, so we have the sorting, filtering, column visibility, and now we have the third one, which is actual row selection. And this one, it does not need, I think, any import. If you just think here this, we are only adding this row selection, which is also an object. So just go to the data table, and let's go on top here. Okay, and just here we'll just add row selection, set row selection, and then just say use state, just like this. Sorry, just say here we have this. Okay, and down, let's see if they have updated. So they have just added this, so copy this and they just update. Okay, just copy what is inside is what we normally want on the table. So just come here on what is inside the table. Okay, select everything in the table just like this. Let's paste this one. We have added this on row selection, set row selection. Okay, yep, so you have added that one, and let's see down, there is nothing we do to the table. Okay, and this adds Okay, so there is even like this why you want step 3, so the selected table. So you say you can show the number of the selected rows using the get filtered selection rows model. And I think this is I don't know why they are adding this. Where do they add this? Let's first see. Maybe just add it on top of this. Okay, I could just like copy this. I just copy this. Can just like click here. I'm having my machine freezing. Sorry. Just about finish. After finishing this table, we'll just leave it at that. Then in the next videos, we start customizing to our needs to make it reusable and reusable all the time. I'm just going to try to select this. The machine is having some difficulties at this point, and I don't know why this input is actually not like selecting, like is not installing here up to this point. Okay, but I just shade it out. Let's copy this. Now this, since it is using the table, it is definitely inside the data table here. So on top here, where we have this, we could just like put it on top here. Okay, simple as that. Now the only thing that's letting us down is this installation of the checkbox is really delaying. Now of course, now this is where we start from, where I say components that you can build to DataTable. This is from the tasks demo. You can see they are using this. We just look at this actually because we want these ones to be actually components at the end of the day. Okay, so we're just going to stop here. Let's just only wait for this installation to happen and we see if everything is working. But this has been like a lot of massive work. Okay, you can see this one has like about 171 lines. Then you have the columns, which is also a massive one. Okay, and then we have also this the payments. I think this is the most simple one where we use this. Okay, where we implement. That's why like this one we are most likely to put it anywhere we want. This one, it will be very easy to use it other places because it takes in the columns and the data. So what I just know is we could actually just like have the data table as a component, and then these other ones we'll see how to implement this in the upcoming video. I will have to go ahead and try to actually customize to our data so that actually we have it working on all the stuff. Seeing how we can customize the colors, the look and everything, both in light mode and dark mode, so that we can have this component. After making this successfully, we'll be starting using it in all our next projects. Okay, we'll be using it all in our next project so that okay, we'll just be using it all in our next projects. And now it has started the installation of the checkbox. Let's just wait for it for a second and then we see how this looks on the UI. So let me hope this side we have it somewhere. I'll just like activate it here so that we don't have the errors. Okay, so just using down somewhere on this first one, you can see here we're just using it here. Okay, So as we use this more and more, we just come to understand everything. You see, this table component really has a lot of the API functions. You can see this. The get is all page rows selected. Then like if this is this one, then it's giving the checked. So like as we continue using this, we'll continue understanding it more and more. The good thing, you see that you can access the rows. You can have, like, for instance, a cell has access to the row, and then from the row you can just get anything you want. Okay, you can access the values, you can access the what. So we have everything we just need. And then you can see on this one we actually disable the hiding of this column and the sorting. They can't be sorted. And this one shows you how you can actually disable. You can see this is actually inside the just the cell. So it means in any cell we don't want to disable these, you can disable them by just doing this: enable sorting false, and I can enable hiding false, like this. Okay, so as I've said, by experience we'll be getting to know how to use this by just reusing this component over and over. Because if just like going to build a cutting edge UI, like if just like those nice UIs, we have actually to use these components. The more the nice the component, the complication that comes with it. But we can break it down the way we have done, a step by step, one line after the other, until we actually implement it. Okay, let me just give a short few seconds to this to finish the installation. I think it's about to finish the installation, so that we can just actually go ahead and see the UI if everything is working. We have added all the stuff. Okay, maybe the bulk delete. I've not seen like the bulk delete. If is there, we shall see. Okay, so this is not good at all, because it seems like it did not install, instead gave us this whole thing. And let's see. Okay, so this is npm thing doing this thing. Okay, I'm just going to redo one more time, just like that. Okay, so this time I'm just going to pause for a second, and then I'll just come back when it has finished actually. Okay, just it looks like it has actually completed. You can see down here, irrespective of these errors from Node. Okay, so just go on the UI, since we have all these set up right now. So I'm just going to go down here, put it down just like this. Okay, so just go back to the UI, and you can see we have these all the things. By the way, all rows selected like this. We have that. So we have the filter, so you have the check. Let's select some, just like that. So if you just go back on top, you have like 4 selected. Okay, we have 4 selected. So I think we have to look for a way to now get all the selected, and then we can delete them somehow. We just have to implement that. But right now we can select. Okay, you can also deselect, just like that. Okay, one nice thing, we can just hide the rows, as we have seen. So now right now this is working properly. The pagination is working properly, everything is working properly right now. So right now we have re-implemented the data table using the Shad UI. So in the next video we're just going to actually to look at how to reuse. That's the first thing, adding more things like delete and all other things. And I'm just going to do this step by step, because I'm not going to do it. I'll just come and start exactly where we did this, and we're just going to resume tomorrow, and then we can see how we actually put this. Thank you for watching this episode. If you like this content, please smash the like button, and also just share the video, subscribe, and see you in the next video.